Welcome to Music in the Air, or META, as many hundreds of UCLA students know it. I'm Robert Winter, META's lead author, and I'd love to take you on a brief tour of our teaching and learning platform. We think you'll appreciate not just its richness and depth, but also its flexibility and accessibility. By the way, this is it. There's no heavy textbook, no cumbersome volumes of scores, no separate listening guides or video resources or study guides. It's all right here, both for you and your students. META is built from the ground up around 4 closely interrelated sections, with a 5th section, Pathways, that provides shortcuts for both beginners and teachers to explore specific topics. Well, we'll look first at the 4 main sections, beginning with an eventful story, a phrase we use to replace the drier and more abstract history. META relates European and American stories within a rich global context. Second, more than 160 prose listening guides feature world-class performances from the catalogs of Deutsche Grammophon, Decca, London, Philips, Oiseau Lyre, Archive, and many others. Each guide offers a separate novice and expert layer using META's unique bouncing blocks. We'll see these in action shortly. The interactive scores use the same bouncing blocks, and this allows beginners as well as trained musicians to explore more than 4,000 pages of music notation from the Middle Ages to the present. Finally, the more than 2,000 terms in our deep glossary ensure first that students either reading English as a second language or those with reading deficiencies will get the help they need to read at a college level. It's also the place where more than 1,000 music-related terms are both explained concisely and explored in depth. You can, of course, return to this home page anytime by clicking on the home icon in the lower left-hand corner, and you can explore each of these sections from their own tables of contents. But as you'll soon see, once you're inside of META, you'll be naturally oscillating between sections from links right on your current pages. Let's see how these sections work together by selecting an eventful story. It's 8, and see the tabs across the top here. It's 8 different means of organizing and accessing the material within META is a first. We'll explore them one at a time. Let's start with the most traditional, periods and chapters. I'm going to select the Late Baroque and Chapter 7, Concertos, Suites, and more. Throughout META, you can use the arrow key to page forward, page backward, but there's a META shortcut which allows you simply to use the right and left arrow keys on your keyboard, and that's what I'll be using. By the way, you hold that key down, you can beat a Tesla going 0 to 60. So I'll go right back to where we started here. You'll first see a discussion of late Baroque style, and then the Concerto Grosso, before we encounter Arcangelo Corelli. All of META's 1,200 carefully curated images enlarged to full window, with plenty of space for generous captions. To put images away, click anywhere in the image window. So we read about Corelli's Concerti Grossi, and then we're ready for an exploration of a complete work, number 2 from that same opus. The discussions of pieces in an eventful story are accompanied by audio excerpts that illustrate the concept under direct consideration. Throughout META, you simply click once on any play button to start the music. To pause, click the space bar. To resume, click again. It's that simple. When you're in the middle of teaching, it's nice to have to find only the largest and handiest key on the keyboard. So, for example, this sparkling passage work in thirds. Or this buoyant stereophonic effect. In an eventful story, each time you start an excerpt, a handy player shows up on the bottom right of the lower control panel. You can jump ahead, move back, do any of the things that you would do on a normal player. Assuming we've now taken the discussion all in, we're now ready for the listening guide at the very head here. The first page provides information and context for the guide that follows. Mita's listening guides contain two layers. A first layer here for the beginner or novice, and a second layer for someone who's had musical training or is a music major, for example. You can toggle between them while the music plays. And here's where Mita really shines. Along with a location in the comments, each timing that you see is its own precise play area. So you can listen to a piece or section, either watching the blocks move automatically, or else you can take matters into your own hands, for example, and compare the beginning of the first section to the beginning of the second section. Students will learn about down a fourth real fast this way. Have you, by the way, ever wondered how the leading history of Western music textbooks can be more than 1,000 pages long and scarcely mention terms like sequence or contrary motion, much less diminished seventh chord or augmented sixth chord or Neapolitan sixth chord? It's kind of like learning about basketball without terms such as fast break or zone defense or three-pointer. To start with, let's look at sequence using Mita's deep glossary. First, I'm going to switch from our current blocks to links. You'll now see a lot of blue linked text. So you can simply hover over a term to get a basic definition, or if you want to delve deeper, you can click on it, which brings up the glossary window. The words are again reinforced by audio examples that bring the concept to life, but this time with an added dimension. As the example plays, text pops up to guide the student. That's what this plus means. Or more than a century later, how a composer like Frédéric Chopin used the single dreamy sequence to actually create a melody. Your students will now have a rich set of concrete sounds to attach to the written discussion. They'll hear other examples of sequence much more readily. Mita's deep glossary contains more than 1,000 of these powerful pop-ups. Now let's look at something a bit more complicated. Diminished seventh chord. So first, let's look at its construction. And there's no better way to explain its power than with this blast from Bach's D minor toccata for organ. Students then listen to this excerpt from the Wolf's Glen scene of Weber's Der Freischütz, in which Max's fiancée Agatha appears about to toss herself into the river. Or this sorrowful segment from the Mad scene in Lucia di Lammermoor. students will have a sense grounded in actual practice of the ways in which composers gave meaning to this chameleon chord. By the way, if you wanted, for example, to find all the examples in the scores and listening guides of augmented sixth chord notated as 4/6 sharp, all you'd have to do is go to Mita's powerful search down here with the magnifying glass and put in 4/6 sharp, and almost as fast as you can blink, you've got 157 results that your students can explore. Okay, so now we're ready for the interactive score, which I can go to right from the listening guide. Its first page may give background to the edition that we use or discuss certain features that stand out. The overview on the right of page 1 provides a snapshot of the piece. When I hold down the Shift key and click on any location, the music starts automatically from there. If I release the Shift key and click, say here, so I'm taken instantly to that location, and just as quickly the music begins to play. This combination of speed and precision makes you a better teacher and your students better learners. At any time, whether the music is playing or not, I can bring up the Go To menu, which replicates the opening overview, and go to any place that I want to. Now you're free to simply turn all the annotations off. That'll take the bouncing block out as well, or just turn the comments off and keep the bouncing block. It's up to you. Let's now go back to the main menu by clicking on the Home icon and then on an eventful story. The second tab brings up the 10 preludes containing the contextual essays that set up the individual music periods. Let's look at the very first one and see how, in addition, of course, to the customary nod to the ancient Greeks, we have a discussion of the Silk Roads that the Chinese Han Emperor Wu opened in 130 BCE and over which many musical instruments must have traveled in both directions. You will also notice 4 unique interludes. These address very directly the impact of Western exploration, colonization, and exploitation. The fate of music is caught up in the same events that resulted in the deaths of millions of indigenous and enslaved peoples by disease or famine or forced relocation or military actions. We cannot either, as a globe or a country, get right with each other until we get right with our history. Africa Out of History, for example, explores why Africa, a massive continent with which Europeans were long familiar, plays virtually no role in an undergrad Western music education. The answer lies largely with the great German philosopher Wilhelm Georg Friedrich Hegel, who said, I'm going to jump to page 7 here, "At this point, we leave Africa, not to mention it again, for it is no historical part of the world that has no movement or development to exhibit," and so forth. Of course, instructors are free to include or omit these interludes. By the way, Mita's history function, this history window with the clock there, keeps track of every place that you've been. So you can slide up and down and find a place you want to go and get back to the tables of contents if we want to. And that's pretty convenient because next we can look at works by chapter. Let's say you'd like to find the last movement of Mozart's glorious Jupiter Symphony. So I'll click here on Viennese style, and there it is, right there. I'm in the movement now. Aha! 4 ideas that more or less govern the movement. Let's listen to them. A, B, C, and D. So I'm going to go right to the score and start in the coda with that wonderful inversion of theme A. And what you're about to see is something I've taught more than once to 500 non-majors at a shot. So we start with 2 themes, then 3 themes, then 4 themes. You can see exactly which ones they are, and it's great to actually have your class sing all of theme A's as it migrates up through the voices in a very systematic way. So here we go. And if I want to go back and catch that quintuple invertible counterpoint again, it's easy. Okay, I think you get the idea. Now let's go back once again, and this time to styles and topics. Let's say I'm looking in Romanticism, and I see, the rise of virtuosity. It looks interesting. So I page through it and run into my friend Paganini, and then into one of his solo violin caprices, and I can actually then begin to listen to the kind of virtuosity that Paganini brought to the 19th century. And then those devilish ricochet bowings. Now we'll return to our main menu and have a look at Mita's historical windows. These offer a kind of up-close, first-person account of musical life during a particular time. For example, number 2 here, A Choir Boy's Life at Notre Dame. It contains a set of rules that govern these young boys in the 12th and 13th centuries. My particular favorite is Rule 6. Likewise, we wish that one of the boys should always read during every meal from some useful book, so that they might abstain from conversation and observe that admonition to speak few things during a meal. It was a fun time. Now I'll click again on the home icon and return to our series of menus. Let's say you want to locate the biography of a particular composer. I'm going to go into the alphabetical listing and look for, let's say, Duke Ellington. And there I see a photograph of the young Ellington with his band, and a little bit later version of his band. And then I can explore this wonderful Harlem air shaft through its listening guide and show what's really very interesting, this AABA structure in all of these sections, not just Beethoven's Ninths, but it goes back centuries and centuries. And it can be shown like this. So students can teach themselves these very intricate structures very, very quickly. Or supposing you want to look at particular genres or categories. Let's take, for example, opera. And how about Richard Strauss's immortal final trio to Der Rosenkavalier? We can check out the nice digs in which he wrote this piece, and then we can also go right to the score, where over this wonderful A-flat pedal we get this final build-up. Now, all throughout Mita, in more than 1,500 pages actually, instead of singing translations, which you find in every piano vocal score, we've created our own sense translations so that your students will actually know what's going on and what exactly is being said. So here we go. By the way, if you want to find out how Strauss came up with this goosebump magic chord, you just click on the More, and it'll talk you through it. Sense translations can make a huge difference in a work like Barbara Strozzi's beautiful The Secret Lover, in which we've actually been able to use her original printed edition. Hard to turn that off, but it really allows the student to see what she was really thinking and how she was setting carefully each and every word. And finally, Mita organizes its offerings by geographical regions. So you can see instantly what Russian or English or American music is available. But what this section is especially useful for is tracking traditional musics. Let's look at China and the guzheng. My colleague Qin Zhaoning explains to us exactly what lies at the heart of playing guzheng.
它的演奏非常像打中国的太极，它也非常讲究阴和阳。那这边是阳，左手就是阴。
In a more contemporary work, Fighting the Typhoon, Professor Qin demonstrates for us the aggressive strumming style that's also so central to playing guzheng. Professor Qin is typical of the accomplished Mita artists who not only play exceptionally well, but at the same time can unravel the cultural secrets behind their instruments. Finally, Pathways is a major new feature that we're just rolling out. It offers powerful shortcuts to a wide range of topics. There are many entry points. For first-timers, there's a Welcome to Mita orientation. For educators, there are complete course syllabuses. Here's how each pathway works. From the languages of music, I'm going to select musical shapes. Bring it up. When I click on the glossary entry for improvisation, it pops right up. I can read it if I wish, but I can also then immediately hear an example of a Bach improvisational style in his Toccata in D minor. Or just as easily, listen to a demonstration video by jazz pianist Carmen Staff on how to improvise 12-bar blues. Returning to Pathways, feeling music addresses students right where they are. For example, music that energizes contains a whole range of very energetic music, from Josquin in the late 15th century all the way up through John Adams' Short Ride in a Fast Machine in the 1980s. Specific topics are particularly powerful. Women in Music offers a curated guided tour through the many dozens of instances where Mita examines both the manner in which women have been portrayed and treated throughout the history of Western music, as well as the pivotal roles that they have always played. If I move my cursor to the left, a pop-up index lets me choose the period. I'll choose Renaissance, where I can read about the strange life and times of Lucrezia Borgia. in post-romanticism about the pioneering ethnomusicologist Alice Cunningham Fletcher and Frances Densmore. In America, about the equally pioneering career of Gertrude Ma Rainey. Without pathways, such a richly annotated tour as this would be virtually impossible. Well, we've barely scratched Mita's surface, yet I hope you've noticed that the domains of music history and music theory and performance never came up. We just did music. We hope you'll find it worthwhile to give Mita a spin on your own. Please check out our website at www.artsinteractiveinc.com. Soon, by the way, there'll be teaching videos that delve more deeply into each of Mita's main sections. In the meantime, though, thanks for watching.